All right, so now you have your story, or at least the ideas that you want. You have your big what if question that we talked about in the first video. You have done your little bits of ADHD rabbit hole research. You have your genre that you want to go into, and somewhat the rules that you know that you can break and others that you sort of have to adhere to. And of course, you also have the kind of story that you want to tell with its themes, motifs, and emotions. You have all that, but now you're sort of stuck at this one thing that sort of happens to all of us, whether you're a new writer or you're a seasoned one with many published books under your belt. And no matter who you ask, it can be sort of conflicting advice that will work more for that person that you've asked and not necessarily yourself. Hi, this is Kathleen Lyons here at the Magic Library, and today we're going to be talking about 4 things that I wish I knew before I started writing my first chapter. So before we get started, let's just say that I still have books and everything, and I do have a little bit of an update at the end of this video, so make sure you stick around for that. But I still have books to sell. I have books that you can get through Amazon, and also signed copies that you can get through my online shop that I have on my website through Canva. It's a very wonderful website, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm still trying to tinker through and get some stuff ready for the little mascots and everything on one of my pages. So don't worry about that. Everything's fine. I'm still in the midst of doing all that. But yeah, I still have that. I also have merch through Printify, which you can also find down in the description. I cannot talk today. And also keep in mind that I hopefully will be going to the Foothills Festival in Jasper, Alabama, and on September 12th and 13th, and also be there for the Foothills Book Fest in October on the 11th. I'll have more about that later on near the end of the video, but first, let's talk about the subject that I think everybody sort of misses. So, as some of you may know, and some of you may be familiar with, I actually did a writing workshop for a bunch of students at the middle school I used to go to early on in May. And I had a lot of fun with it, and one of the questions that actually sort of still has stuck with me is, how do you start your chapter? And a lot of those questions that sort of came after that were sort of story related, and how do you overcome writer's block? How do you sort of get unstuck if you're not really enthusiastic about a scene that you're writing? Stuff like that. And let's just say that there's a lot of conflicting advice out there. And at that time, I actually did not know how to answer these questions effectively. So the goal with this series is that I will basically be giving everybody more detailed advice or tips and tricks that have basically helped me in my journey, and that I hope will help you. And today's topic is basically how do you start your first chapter? And let's just say it gets a little difficult. As I said before, no matter who you ask, there's always going to be some basically conflicting advice. And also, the more seasoned an author you ask, the more likely the advice won't help. So let's get into some 4 basic tips that have basically helped me. These are 4 things I wish I knew before I even started writing my first chapter. And I hope you guys sort of keep these things in mind, because it sort of lets you let loose a little bit. We'll start with the first one here. The first one is, sometimes it's best not to stick to a script. A lot of roadblocks stem from knowing what happens next. And in some cases, it helps, like if you are a very strict outliner and you have to know what happens, that can do well, but at the same time, try not to stick to it too much. There's sort of an allegory that's from The Golden Compass, the movie, not the series. And the quote is from Father Coram when he tells Lyra that when she's first using the golden compass, to never grasp at the answer, to hold the question in your mind, but lightly, like it was something alive. And stories are the same way. You don't want to grasp so tightly onto these things that you know for certain are going to happen that you sort of get tunnel vision and you're only working towards those things. In immersive writing, it sort of hinders you. And one of the things that I actually was having a very hard time with when I was, being told to outline everything was that, true, it's good to have all of these facts and everything and all of these little events in a timeline, but at the same time, if you go through the entire thing and you know what happens at the end, you sort of psych yourself out of wanting to tell that story. In your mind, you feel like the story has already been told. You know the end of it, and you sort of don't want to fool with it anymore. So here's a tip for how to basically get behind that, and it sort of goes back to the little quote from Father Coram. Hold the story in your mind, but don't hold it so tightly that you get tunnel vision. Let weird things happen. If you have ADHD and you are a discovery writer, or if you're one or the other, it's sort of typical to just let your mind wander while you're writing, because then you'll notice some details that are going to be in the background of the story. And sometimes those background details will be prevalent to other instances later on. Before I get on to the piece of advice for the second point, let's go through a little scenario. Let's say you're writing this really intense scene and you know for a fact that you have to finish it before you can get on to anything else. But when you're sort of stewing and having difficulties writing in that, you end up getting ideas for stuff that happens later on in the story, or even later on in the series if you're doing a book series. You want to write those stuff down, but you know that but you have it in your mind that if you do not finish the scene, you'll never come back and finish it. So you sort of force yourself to try to finish it. Here comes my second piece of advice for you. Storytelling is not linear, at all. This sort of goes back to the earlier piece of advice where it's don't hold the story so tightly in your mind that you sort of get tunnel vision. This is what happens when you get tunnel vision. You focus so solely on finishing this one scene that any ideas that you've had later on, you very much forget. And do not say that you do not forget ideas that you've had. I know I do. I know other people do. I know that that's primarily the reason why even the most new age of authors who do everything completely on the computer always carry around a notebook. They do it because they have ideas for later on in the chapter, and for later on in the chapter, in the story, in the series, in the world, in the timeline. They have to write it down, so that's why they keep the notebook, whether it is a physical copy or it is on their phone. Storytelling is not linear. I have worked on many a different page and scene where it is just completely just far out of the context of what I'm writing here in a certain chapter or a certain scene. And it's more beneficial for you to write down those ideas that you have for later on instead of trying to grasp it and also trying to focus on that. Write it down, get all of it out of your system, save it for later, and then focus on the scene. And even more of a piece of advice, if you're feeling stuck, take a step back. Take a step back and even work on that other scene for how you want to. Give it a small draft. Write down mock scenes. Do something that will get you onto the point where it feels like you're not necessarily writing on something else, but when you're writing on this one thing, it will help your brain sort of work through what you want for the current scene that you're stuck on. I hope that made sense. If there's anybody who's having any difficulties, I will try to get it into a better video. I'll try to get it into a little bit of a better explanation video. This third thing is one that is sort of difficult, and it's because a lot of people don't enjoy the immersive part of reading or writing. And it's that you'll create an entirely incredible world, but you're more focused on the story that happens in the world that you sort of miss what's happening around you. This is the same tunnel vision problem. Whether you are an outliner or whether you are a discovery writer, don't be afraid to be a tourist in your own story. Don't be afraid to explore. This sort of goes into the entire rabbit hole research thing of when you're doing your initial world building and research. And you can do a lot of world building while you're writing, and it still feel completely unique. Like you're going into you're going to Disneyland or Disney World for the first time, and you want to see everything, but you know that there's a certain route. Routes aside, don't be afraid to explore. If you have an idea for how you want the story to go that doesn't necessarily mesh with the current plot or current routes that you're taking, take some time to actually write that down and see if you can work it into the story, and if you can, see how it really meshes with the rest of it. I've seen a lot of good things happen from this. For example, I actually had to rewrite a scene, an instance, 3 times within Seraphim Requiem. And let's just say it was somewhat difficult. I mean, I had to call on memories of how I had written it beforehand and what I was writing now. And I had to do a lot. I did a lot of back and forth. I feel like this is how animators feel when they look at point A and point B, and they're trying to make sure all the stuff happens correctly to make it seem seamless. So there's that. So for any of those weird ideas that you have that could happen in your story and everything, don't be afraid to be a tourist. Just write down the idea and explore it a little bit. Even if it doesn't really mesh well, it still could turn out to be a very interesting scenario for something later on in the story, or even for an entirely different story and world. So before I get into this last segment and everything, I sort of want to give you guys a little bit of a story time. For those of you who are watching that probably knew me in high school, you knew that I was very, very adamant about this one particular story that I was writing. And when I finally got done with it, I made copies and I gave it to 3 people. I gave it to our English teacher, I gave it to someone that I went to church with, and I also gave it to my father. And this I'll probably talk about in a later video about getting feedback. But I was very, very sort of discouraged about how my writing style was and how I described things and how I seemed to describe things with the same words at every turn. And keep in mind, this was all first draft, and I was very much discouraged from ever doing anything else with it because of what these 3 people were talking about, or technically 2. My dad, I don't think actually finished it, but that's just because paranormal dark fantasy really isn't his thing. He really doesn't read ghost stories. He reads more science fiction. But I am still very thankful that he actually took the time to actually read at least a little bit and tell me his thoughts. So I'm still very grateful for that. But let's just say that this piece of advice is something that I wish I had known when I first started writing, and I am telling it to you guys now. If you get feedback back on your first draft and it's bad, it's not the end of the world. Ernest Hemingway has this very famous quote when it comes to writing, and it's, "The first draft of everything is crap," and that's me paraphrasing. It's a first draft. Of course there are going to be mistakes. Of course there are going to be holes. That's why you go through the entire thing again, writing down notes of what you think can be changed, and also taking into account some of the feedback that you get. That's basically how you get from your first draft to your final product. And I'll go into that later on. Whether you are a new author or a seasoned author, it's okay to make mistakes in your first draft. It's you sort of dipping your toes into the worlds that you've created for this. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to rework things. Do not be afraid of writing your first draft, even if you're afraid of making mistakes. Just do not be afraid. Everybody makes mistakes in their first draft. All in all, take your time with it. Take your time with your first draft, especially when you've finished it and you're going back through doing annotations if you're like me. And let's just take everything that you put on yourself, but with the advice and feedback that you get, with a grain of salt. If you know your story, then and you think that this will be better than what other people think, then first off, keep that. But if there's stuff like grammatical errors or like you need to rewrite this, experiment. It's okay. Always keep your first draft on hand, and always keep the notes that you take as well. I'll actually get into my writing process in a later video to sort of explain how I do things. And I think that is actually it. This video was very interesting for me to make, but primarily because it's like this is me sort of like gently but firmly grabbing you by the shoulders and being like, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to write your first book or your first draft, even if you're afraid of feedback or basically just like any negative feedback that you may get. And it's something that I wish that somebody would have told me when I first started writing, because I looked back on writing and everything and all the feedback that I got, and I can't help but sort of see it in a negative light. But that's sort of me also having the tremendous problem of basically being self-deprecating when I was in high school. So there's that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and now that we've got that out of the way, now I can tell you about the events that I went to on July 4th. Alright, so the 4th of July festival that I went to, it was held in a small town, actually in a small town where I actually went to middle school and I went to high school. And it was very, very fun. I actually sold a whole lot more than I was anticipating. I sold 8 copies of Arborea Lux, 3 copies of Seraphim Awakening, and 3 sticker packs. I actually would have to go back and do the math on that, because I did have a lot of deals going on. If you bought Arborea Lux and Seraphim Awakening together at the same time, you actually had your entire order was half off. And also there was buying a book and then buying the corresponding sticker pack with each other. You got the sticker pack half off. And a lot of people liked those deals, and I signed everybody's books because I was like, this was sort of my first like real-time author event, just doing it at a festival. And I definitely made a lot. I made a whole lot more than I was anticipating. And I had a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to doing the Foothills Festival in September and doing the Book Fest, the Foothills Book Fest in October. And believe it or not, I still have copies of Arborea Lux left, as well as some little goodies to go along with it. So if you guys are interested, you can go down to that link in the description below, and you can go to see my my lovely little goodies that I've got. I have sticker packs down that are for sale, and I do have a book box for sale that is going to include a signed copy of Arborea Lux, all 5 of the prints, 2 bookmarks, and also a sticker pack, and maybe some other little goodies in there as well. I'm very much looking forward to selling some of those. And of course, if you don't want to get it through there are links in the description for the Amazon links for each of the books that you can go and buy as well. And while we're talking about merch, let's talk about my Printify store. I have this new design up on my Printify store, and I actually did this for a video. The video I'll probably put the thumbnail for it, like I think maybe right here, just so that you know what to look for. But if you're interested in buying this shirt and everything, go down to the description below, go to my Printify store, and definitely give it a look-see. I enjoyed making this for you guys, and I am actually supposed to be finishing up the lore for these other 2 mascots besides Duat on my website, so hopefully that'll be up soon. And that is it for the video and everything. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end. I had a lot of fun doing this, and this is actually not the only video that I have planned for the series. I have, I think, besides this, 8 more, I believe. And it's all basically going to be stuff talking about like the writing journey, what sort of like roadblocks that you may find, some tips and tricks for getting past those and everything, and stuff like that. So I believe the next video is going to be combating writer's block, and basically stuff that's helped me in the past to get past it. So if you're interested in this video and also in the series, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I also am putting all of these videos in a very special playlist for you to save. All you have to do is just go to my YouTube page, and you can go to playlists and get that yourself and just save it. If you've not done so yet, please go to the link tree in my description to follow me on all of my socials. I am not going to be doing TikTok a lot. Every single time I go on there, it seems to be highly more political, and it sort of just like brings me down creatively. Especially when I go on there to basically help people with their books, to find new books that I want to read and stuff like that. And I feel like I get lost in the political algorithm. So I am very much going to be swearing off of TikTok for a while. So there's that. I do plan on being a whole lot more active here on YouTube, and also a lot more active on Instagram and Blue Sky. So those are typically going to be my higher ones. But yeah, if you guys are interested in following me on all of my socials, please go down to the link tree in my description and follow me on all of my socials on there. I spent a lot of time with that design, so yeah. I do plan on doing some other art stuff for the channel as well, and I'm hoping to actually get a gaming channel started, because I just recently got this mic hooked up to my gaming laptop. So expect to see some videos or clips of me and some very close friends playing either Repo or Lethal Company. We're still looking for a lot of stuff to play together as a group and everything. So I will keep everybody updated. And as always, thank you so much for sticking around. I know for one person in particular, or maybe 2 or 3, they always come back to my videos, and I know them by name because I always send them a link to my videos. And I just want to thank those people right now. I want to thank Joe, my friend who lives up in Kingfield, Maine. I want to thank my friend Courtney, who I've known since high school. And also I want to thank my entire D&D group for just for letting me just like spam them in the promote yourself part of our Discord server. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will get back to you again with another video soon. In the meantime though, this has been Kathleen Lyons here at the Magic Library, just, you know, ranting on and off. And I hope you guys have a very wonderful day, and I hope you guys keep writing and doing the art that you want to do. Bye, guys.